So how are you, Mr. I'm engaged now?
I'm engaged now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I already have a stain on my finger
From what?
from the ring.
Aw.
From my. I hope I don't get I hope I don't get nickel poisoning.
He won't.
I hope not.
Yeah. I'm more so upset that there are no pictures of the engagement. Nothing of any of that for me to see. But, I'll forgive him in time.
Okay.
So, I'm Sal.
I'm David. Oh.
So what are we talking about today, David?
I don't know.
We're talking about the justice system.
Mm-hmm.
A very exciting topic.
Oh, so exciting.
Yeah. For the longest time, I thought you'd make a really nice lawyer.
Why?
Because
I'm an asshole?
That's just one part of it.
There you go.
You're also really, really politically well-versed. You have a good understanding of the Constitution, and you have a very good method of arguing with people.
I've been told that occasionally.
Yeah. I think you'd make a good lawyer.
I don't think I would.
Why not?
Because I like to gossip.
Oh, yeah.
And I would violate attorney-client privileges.
I imagine you go up to the judge, during a trial, and oh my god, have you heard about juror number 4? Oh my god.
I hear she's a racist. Mistrial!
Yep.
Yeah.
All of your trials end in mistrials. Which is good if you're the defense.
Yes, but I could get a judge expelled.
That is true. Alright, so, the criminal justice system. Do you watch Law & Order?
SVU specifically.
I've seen every iteration of Law & Order. Which one's your favorite?
SVU, because the others are boring.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that Criminal Intent is boring, but I like the original series.
I think Detective Benson, now Lieutenant Benson, is the most interesting character.
Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
But other than that, I've been watching Elementary, because it ended this year.
Yeah.
With Lucy Liu and that guy who was in some other movie. He was married to Angelina Jolie.
Oh, was or is?
Was for 3 years.
Then I don't know.
1986 to 1989, yeah.
How old is Angelina Jolie?
Not that old. She's an older lady, but she's not that old. She's probably as old as Lucy Liu.
Okay, so that's your favorite.
That's what favorite so far.
That's your favorite crime show
right now.
Elementary? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was in a Law and Order family growing up. My dad was always watching it, so I was always around that. And I know that Law and Order is sort of like an unrealistic, beauty standard. Yes, absolutely. It's a very unrealistic portrayal of crime, especially in SVU, because in SVU, convictions for sex crimes happen at a much higher rate than they do in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of circumstances that involve, including, if they showered beforehand, if there's any physical evidence.
I didn't know that had a bearing on it.
If you shower, you risk contaminating your own body, so the rape kit won't find much.
Oh.
They look for pubes, DNA samples.
Got it.
Trauma.
I'm not actually familiar with how a rape kit works. I understand what they're looking for, but I don't understand, is it just a swab of...
Swabs, looking for samples.
Okay.
Looking for trauma. And then they give you 2 pills, one to stop STDs and another to stop pregnancy.
Yeah. There was a post on Tumblr I saw, I think it was a year and a half ago. Someone posted about SVU and they said, I like Law and Order SVU, but it's also super unrealistic. It sort of gives a lot of people who may be victims of sexual assault that, there's going to be a very, very high chance that everybody's going to be supportive of you and you're going to have the proper level of belief around you that you can actually pursue justice for what happened to you. And he said, and that just is not the case, because I don't want to say, I'm not sure if this is correct. Are the majority of people who undergo sexual assault, do they actually seek trial? I don't think so.
I think most people don't seek trial.
Yes.
Mostly out of fear or shame.
Yeah. Whereas SVU sort of portrays it as like, okay, every single case of sexual assault ends up going to trial.
Well, the show puts it very clearly as that these are select cases. These are cases that are extenuating to these characters. That these are big cases. They're not showing us little cases.
Yeah.
It's specifically stuff that gets being bumped up to SVU specifically, and these are like special cases that like specifically with Lieutenant Benson, no longer detective. She's basically the police chief, not the chief, but she's in charge of the unit.
Yeah. I was very... so when I saw that post, my response to it was, well, SVU...
Is a show.
Yeah, it's a show. It's not their responsibility to be the most accurate depiction of what it is in real life. I think the job of the production is to evoke empathy for the victims.
It does.
And it absolutely does that.
Even did provoke empathy, even if it wasn't quite well. Like, they did an episode called InfoWars.
Oh.
It was about a Milo Yiannopoulos character, except it was a woman and not gay or Jewish. And she specifically talked about how Thomas Jefferson owned slaves, and how since the libcucks want to take down statues of slave owners, they should take down Thomas Jefferson. It was a whole lot, and she was raped with a picket sign by Antifa members or whatever.
Wow.
Some black bloc, whatever.
I mean, all jokes aside, no matter what that person believes in, you should express empathy and support for people who are victims of sexual assault.
And as far as I could tell, everyone besides like Ice-T didn't quite like her.
Oh.
She was rude as fuck.
Yeah.
I
haven't seen that episode, by the way.
It's the new season.
Got it.
Or the season right before the new season.
Mm-hmm.
I can find it for you. It's on Hulu. Yeah, it was a weird episode. It was like, this is so out of touch. This episode's really out of touch.
Go into that a little bit more.
Well, it feels like it's painting very clear caricatures of both Antifa as well as like
the alt-right.
Alt-right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are people who are who would do something that violent to someone on the alt-right.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't think a majority of Antifa members are like that. Like, I'm that impression's not been like imposed upon me, because I know that most Antifa members really just don't like the idea of fascists in general, and I get that.
Yeah.
But they're fucking that little black bloc anarcho-communist circles. They're decentralized. I say with air quotes. System isn't working because it just promotes more violence in cells. Just it feels so close to the Aryan Brotherhood. It's painful. Like, it's so close to skinheads. Like, just the way that their system is built. It's because skinheads do not have a centralized system of power work.
Yeah.
Like, you'll think the KKK and skinheads are all the same. They're not.
Yeah.
They're very different. They have very different ideas and ideals.
And there's not an infrastructure for them to all manipulate.
No, the KKK at least has a grand wizard.
Yeah.
They have a leader, and that leader does decide things.
Yeah.
And the KKK are mostly harmless. They're toothless. They are toothless. They have not killed someone since 1970.
I mean, 1970 is still in the working memory of many people.
Okay, but when was the last time Antifa killed someone?
I have no idea.
Recently.
Oh.
But, like, I mean, here I am sounding like I'm defending the KKK. Like, the issue is...
You do sort of come off like that.
The issue is the KKK is not a societal ill the same way it was. There's a reason they wear the hoods.
Yeah.
And the reason why people have such an ill will towards them. No one likes to live in the same town with the KKK. The KKK are ostracized at the edge of society. They're not a threat to society. They're super not. These Proud Boys that you see now and again, there has been there's been a rate of hate crime violence has gone up according to the FBI.
Yeah.
Since Trump was elected, because, of course, it's a very polarized time right now. Yeah, I'd say more so than I can remember.
It's not that the country has just now become polarized. We've always been a polarized
I don't
country.
think so. I think America is very prone to polarized issues. I mean, New Coke divided this country. New Coke? Yeah. New Coke divided the country. But I do think that it's grown more so with things like the internet. The internet promotes a sort of tribalism.
Yeah.
Just because it's from things like Google's algorithms to promote videos that you already would like.
Mm-hmm.
It creates echo chambers. Things like Reddit.
I think, this is interesting. I was scrolling through Facebook one day and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now seeing notifications for Ben Shapiro's content because I've spent a lot more time talking about him, not in a positive light, but just because I'm bringing up Ben Shapiro, my phone is recommending more Ben Shapiro content to me.
And that's kind of a good thing.
Is it, though?
Yeah. Because you already know what you believe.
I do know what I believe, but we had this discussion the other day about that's an invasion of privacy. I don't like that.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. I mean, you could always just use a VPN.
Yeah.
It would hide your cookie data.
But who has the money for a VPN?
It's like $5 a month. This is not sponsored.
$5 a month. Anybody want to buy us a VPN?
No.
No?
It's $5 a month. You can afford $5 a month. I know you can.
Can I?
You make more money than I do.
Fair. All right. So,
yeah.
Law and Order, Elementary. What are the other shows about criminal justice?
Specifically criminal justice?
Yeah.
I was watching The Blacklist, which is it's just kind of like...
That's more of a... I don't...
It's international crime.
Yeah, but Blacklist is like... At least Law and Order is like giving
based
you
in reality.
Yeah, they're giving you the facade that it's realistic. Blacklist doesn't even make the.
It's like James Bond villains. Like there was a guy who worked as a he worked for a life insurance company, so he knew when people were dying.
Yeah.
So he basically said, if you kill yourself to go assassinate this person, basically, your family will get a huge stipend.
Wow.
And that's how he did it. That's how he always got assassins to kill like big figures without any trace, because there's no connection other than that insurance company they found it.
Wow.
Wild.
Yeah, my dad is a big Blacklist fan, but I don't think it's at all an accurate depiction of the criminal justice system.
Or the FBI,
I don't think any of these shows are really a super accurate depiction.
No. If you think you can understand the legal system just because you watch TV, you are so... The Dunning-Kruger effect is strong in you.
Yeah. So, criminal justice at the local level is probably where I understand it the least. Because when I learn about the justice system and the government in school, we learn about the Supreme Court. We learn about it from the top down. But I know very little about the justice system at this level because I haven't had much interaction with it.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been arrested. I've never been charged with a crime. I don't have many relatives who have.
God, wish that were me.
So I don't understand like how these proceedings go forth.
Okay, so what specifically do you want to know?
Okay, so have you ever seen someone getting arrested?
Yes, but I didn't know them.
Okay, so what happens there?
Well, they get read their Miranda rights.
Okay.
You have the right to remain silent. Everything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you.
Yeah, that's a court case. Miranda v... I forget what state it is. I think it's Ohio. Don't quote me. But basically, the defendant claimed that he was never aware of his own Fifth Amendment rights.
Yeah.
Therefore, the case was ruled in his favor. Yeah. And it has now become a rule. That's why it's known as Miranda rights, because that was the last name of the defendant in the case. You are now legally entitled to hearing your own Fifth Amendment rights before you're arrested. Huh. So after reading Miranda rights, what happens when someone's arrested?
They're usually taken to booking.
Okay.
Usually staying at the precinct, depending on... Usually it's a precinct.
Yeah.
They usually stay... they're held. If they're arrested, it's because they've been charged with a specific crime.
Yeah.
You can be detained, which is different.
Okay. Isn't there a limit on how long you can be detained?
24 hours.
Okay.
Less if you're a minor.
Got it. What is it if you're a minor?
I think you need a parent there, or guardian. And they can't hold you.
Okay. Interesting.
Unless they have a crime that they can charge you with.
So they can hold you for a full 24 hours, interrogating you.
Yeah.
Without charging you for any crime.
Yeah.
That does not sound... I mean, I know it's legal, but it doesn't sound right.
Well, say if you threaten to shoot up a school tomorrow, the police can detain you for 24 hours to prevent you from shooting up a festival, let's say that happened.
Okay.
And that festival ended, and they just saved lives. They don't need to charge you with anything. They can just let you go. If they have a a good idea that you might do something, but not legally have the evidence, they could detain you for that.
That's interesting, because I thought if you threaten to shoot up a school, the threat in and of itself is a crime. You can't shout fire in a public theater.
You could say things that aren't quite a threat, but are very intimidating.
Like what?
Like saying, "Oh, these guys are going to get what's coming to them. They'll see tomorrow." That's not really a threat. That's very vague.
It is.
And it's not a threat.
It's vague, but a lot of people can interpret that as
a lot of
threat.
people can, but a lawyer and a judge will not find that. You will not get a warrant for your arrest because of that.
Interesting.
It's too vague. And that's kind of a good thing.
Okay.
Because using vague language is... And if a judge can decide your warrant because you said something that was a little intimidating, that's not good enough, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional crisis at that point.
Interesting.
You need... police need warrants to search your office, your car, your home. They need an electronic surveillance warrant to look at your emails and Facebook posts and your phones.
What I believe that there's an exception to the rule though, where they could search your property without a warrant
if they hear any immediate danger
let me just look this up to make sure I have it right. I believe it's clear and present danger.
Yeah, that's the word. For instance, if you hear someone screaming for help, or a baby crying, or you hear a struggle, police are allowed to enter your home if they think you're in clear and present danger, or there is a clear and present danger.
Oh no, never mind. That's a different thing. Clear and present danger is what I mentioned earlier. You can't shout fire in a public theater. Clear and present danger was a doctrine adopted by the Supreme Court of the United States to determine under what circumstances limits can be placed on First Amendment freedoms. First Amendment. Fourth Amendment is your freedom from search and seizure without a warrant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
You're aware of the idea of fruit of the poison tree?
Fruit of the poison tree. Yes.
It's the idea that
any evidence obtained unlawfully can't be used in a...
And any conclusions drawn from that cannot be used in court.
Yes.
So, for instance, if, say, an officer unlawfully searched someone's person, or...
And they find drugs or whatever, then that...
Or, sorry, not person, say, like, home.
Okay.
And they found drugs. Say if it was enough to be considered intent to sell, they can't charge you with that now. It's fruit for the poison tree. Even if you knew that, you'd have to find him guilty in another act somewhere else. If you see him selling drugs on the street, then you can charge him with that. That's different.
Understood.
Yeah, it's law's a weird thing. Chain of custody is also an important thing, which is you have to establish a clear chain of custody between who has touched which evidence, and if that custody is not clear, the case can be ruled a mistrial for tampering.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So after somebody's been arrested, lawfully arrested, like they've been charged with a crime, booked, so they're no longer detained.
They will be taken to a county jail.
Okay, and then the matter of bail.
That is set by a judge in a hearing.
Okay. I think this is a quote, not from Bernie Sanders, but I've heard him saying it. And he says, the biggest failure of our justice, the biggest example of discrepancy of class is exhibited in our justice system, no greater than by the matter of bail. Because, obvious reasons. If you can afford bail, then you have basically circumvented the legal system for some time.
That's not necessarily true. For a couple reasons. Because bail is determined by a judge for different reasons, including income, connections to the community, and flight risk.
Okay.
If you have strong connections to the community, for instance, you're a pastor at a local church, your bail is going to be lower because you're not a flight risk. You have strong community ties.
Yeah.
If you are poor, very poor, they won't charge you as much as they will charge someone who's a billionaire.
Okay.
If you are not a flight risk, like, for instance, you don't own a car, or you don't own a private jet, for instance, or you don't have a lot of money overseas or businesses overseas, you're not a flight risk.
Okay.
I wouldn't be a flight risk. I have strong community ties. All my family lives here.
Okay.
I would not be a flight risk.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, after somebody has posted bail, what are the restrictions on what they're allowed to do outside of jail? They obviously can't leave the state.
They cannot leave the state. I do not believe they're allowed to leave the city.
Okay. Really?
Usually.
Interesting.
It's considered fleeing.
Got it.
I don't know the specific restrictions. You're probably not allowed to commit another crime, obviously.
Well, you're never allowed to commit another crime. Yeah.
I don't know the specific... Oh, you're supposed to appear in court at the mentioned date.
Oh, yeah, and if you don't, the bail is kept by the state.
They keep some amount of it.
I thought they kept all of it. So let's say you post bail. Let's say like my brother goes to jail. I post bail for him.
Yeah.
He doesn't make his court date. What percent of what I gave the government does the government keep?
It's most of it, I'm pretty sure, but I think it depends on state.
Okay.
State laws decide that.
What are all the things that you could post for bail? You could obviously post cash, but you could post your car, bonds, your car, your house, anything worth
enough to cover it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. There's limits on that, but there's specific things you can do.
I could only imagine having a relative that you post bail for. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You say, "I will do this for you because I believe in you," and then they end up not making their court date. I can only imagine how much that must hurt. That's happened to a friend of mine.
It happened to that woman who bailed R. Kelly out, right?
I'm not sure.
Some woman bailed out a celebrity because they believed he was real, like he was not real, innocent.
Yeah.
He didn't show up to court, and so she asked for the bail money back and state wouldn't give it to her.
Fuck. That is...
It's $10,000.
That's not a little bit of money.
Not for anyone, no.
Wow. God.
That's a good chunk of money. That's like a third of my salary when I was working at Smart Final.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why I don't post bail for anyone.
Yeah. So then, after assuming bail is met, they show up for their court date, or if they couldn't post bail, they kind of have to show up for the court date. They don't really have a...
Yeah, they're held.
Yeah. After they are tried, I am not a lawyer, nor am I a judge.
Huh?
I don't know enough about criminal proceedings. I've never even attended a trial.
Okay.
Have you?
No, but I think I know enough.
Okay.
Of kind of the idea that goes on.
Got it.
So if they're tried, the jury is depends on the kind of criminal. It depends on the court you're in. So there's civil court, criminal court, and juvenile court.
I thought juvenile. Okay, but are juvenile?
That's called family court. Sorry.
Yeah. Are family court proceedings ever done for a civil case?
Vandalism is a criminal case. I don't think. I'm trying to think of a civil case that like a kid could do. I mean, tax fraud.
I mean, can a kid commit tax fraud? I don't think so. If a kid's not paying taxes, how could they commit tax fraud to begin with?
I mean, kids can pay taxes.
Can?
Yeah, they make
enough
money.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Usually, the only time a juvenile is charged outside of family court is because of murder.
Yeah.
That's it. Murder or something incredibly like torture or kidnapping, which has happened, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It'd be like that.
It shouldn't, but it do be like that.
Yeah.
So, criminal proceedings and civil proceedings obviously work very differently.
Yeah.
The term I've often heard is white collar crime versus blue collar crime. Yeah.
Yes, sometimes.
So crimes like, I don't know,
a dispute, a land dispute between two landowners.
Yeah.
Would be a civil court case. And versus like theft would be a criminal court case.
What about discussion of custody during a divorce? Isn't that a civil case?
That could be a civil case, but usually that's handled by a judge behind closed doors, and that's not in front of a jury.
Okay.
That's specifically by arbitrators.
Got it.
I know. Like, lots of things happen like that. I think if, say, a dispute of a will, that would be considered a civil case, but it's not done in front of a jury.
Got it.
Most civil cases don't see juries because they don't need it. It's just a judge's discretion.
Absolutely.
Criminal cases normally need a jury because it's such a serious crime.
Unless you settle out of court.
I had to sign an arbitration deal with Smart Final before they allowed me to work for them.
Really?
Meaning, if I ever had a problem with them, I could not sue them. I'd have to talk to an arbitrator outside of court.
Okay.
Which is an interesting, fucked up thing to do.
How old were you when you started working for them?
It was like a year ago.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it was last year. It was almost exactly a year ago.
Wow.
Okay.
Aren't the majority of cases taken by public defenders ended with a settlement?
Public defenders normally...
Yeah.
If you're doing civil cases, you don't get a public defender.
No, not civil cases, criminal cases.
That's not a settlement. You're thinking of a
plea
bargain.
deal. Sorry, yeah. That's the term.
Yeah, you normally plead guilty in exchange for a lesser sentence or
Yeah.
something else.
And that's the majority of cases.
Because a lot of times people don't want to risk.
Yeah. The justice system could not feasibly afford to pay for
All these cases.
criminal cases all seeing a jury.
And so that's why plea bargains exist.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that has had the double-edged sword of making most people who are innocent not even bother trying to...
Prove their innocence.
Yeah, because it's just easier to take a 2-year sentence.
Yeah.
Versus a 5-year one if you lose.
Absolutely. It's also cheaper down the line because you don't have to pay for a better lawyer. But there's that aspect of when they get out of prison, they now have that on their criminal record. It is now markedly more difficult to find employment.
And if it was a felony they were charged with, fuck it, you're fucked. You can't vote anymore in some states.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that when somebody leaves jail, voting again is not the first thing on their mind. The first thing on their mind is, how do I find gainful employment? How do I support myself?
That's another thing. Parole. You're required to find gainful employment.
Yeah.
As part of your parole.
It is just markedly more difficult to meet the terms of your parole. You're back in again. Awful. Don't like that.
No, it's a very bad part, and what sucks is most lawyers don't become public defenders as much as the system needs it.
Yeah,
because they're being basically courted by these private firms of defense of prosecution or private defense firms.
Yeah,
they're charging them like so much more. The only people that stick with public defense work are people who believe that they can fix the system. And frankly, we need more of those people.
Yeah, we do. I have multiple cousins who finished law school. Mm-hmm. Not a single one of them even wants to touch being a public defender. Was a 10-foot stick.
You don't get paid enough. You work too many hours.
Exactly. And to be fair, all of my cousins who are lawyers are working their ass off. They're working 50, 60-hour weeks.
And they're getting paid.
But they're getting paid proportional to the work that they're doing.
Probably more.
Yeah.
Way more than like a public defender would, because public defenders are treated like trash.
They are.
And they're giving way too many cases because there just aren't enough of them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for public defenders.
Especially after 4 years of law school. First of all, you need to do 4 years of an undergrad, 4 years of law school, then you need to spend time studying for the bar after law school. That's tough. That takes time. It took all of my cousins multiple attempts to pass the bar. So you're just sitting on your ass studying instead of working in that time.
I had my music teacher, he passed the bar twice. In 2 different states.
Really?
Yes.
Why did your music teacher take the bar?
Said he wanted to become a lawyer at one point, and he said, I like music more. He got fired for jerking off at school.
Whoa.
They found porn on his computer.
Fuck.
You know.
Wow.
His life took a turn.
It took several turns from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was a nice enough man, if not irritating to talk to.
Got it. So. That's the local justice system. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot.
It's wild.
It is wild. I love that. So, when I was taking government in high school, I learned that a case can be heard at the district level, and then there is potential, if that case is appealed to a higher court. We have a middle court system called the appellate court system.
Okay, yeah.
They'll pick up a district case and then hear it themselves. I don't believe those cases have a jury.
No, I'm pretty sure this is just judges.
Yeah. I believe it's... do you know how... Because each appellate court is called a circuit court. Each circuit court covers a different region of the country.
Yeah.
Do you know which circuit court we're under?
No.
Okay.
Probably Los Angeles.
But it extends beyond Los Angeles. I think it's like California and like more of the Southwest.
No.
Let me look.
California's probably a special case because it services so many people.
Yeah.
Los Angeles, the Southern California region might just be its own thing.
Let me look it up.
I'm pretty sure the appellate court's in San Diego.
Oh, so California. Oh no, but those are state courts. Oh, so that's another thing. What decides if a crime is heard on the state level or on the federal level?
If it affects more than one state.
Okay.
Usually it's the rule of thumb. If a crime crosses state lines like trafficking or drugs or kidnapping or murder, say for instance a guy murders one person in one state and runs to the other state, that's a federal case.
Got it. Interesting.
If it happens on federal land, like the further west you go, the more federal land there is.
Harming a postal worker or mailman is a federal crime.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they work for the government.
The federal government, specifically. Yes. They are an agent of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Suck on that, libertarians.
What?
Suck on that, libertarians.
Okay, so there are 6 courts of appeal in the state of California.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are in the 2nd district. No, are we? Yeah. California's in the 2nd District Court of Appeals.
Okay.
Yeah. It's looking like LA County, Ventura County, not San Bernardino County. Hang on. I don't know. Anyways, we're in California's 2nd Court of Appeals. A case can be picked up from an appellate court and then picked up by the Supreme Court. Yeah.
Not the Supreme Court, but a Supreme Court.
Yes.
There are stateside Supreme Courts.
Yes.
Things that are specifically about the Constitution are picked up by the Supreme Court.
Yes. So that's what I wanted to talk about a lot today.
The Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court.
Okay.
So I don't like the way the court looks now.
It's very right-leaning.
It's extremely right-leaning, and we have 2 left-leaning judges who are very, very old.
One who just beat cancer.
One who just beat cancer for her 2nd time.
Yeah.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg she picked up the moniker of the Great Dissenter.
Yeah.
She dissented on so many cases coming from that ruled in favor of the originalist side. So the terms liberal and conservative somewhat apply to the court, but that's not really the same line of thinking.
Not at all. It's quite different, actually.
Yeah. There's overlap, certainly. But
sure, yeah, I mean, obviously, because whether you believe the Constitution should be read as a literal document that means exactly what it says, or it's a living document as it's taught in schools now.
Yeah.
It's more of a thing that's meant to be changed with time as our society changes.
Yes.
Which is what I subscribe to.
And that's what I subscribe to as well. I believe that, and it's a meme, but, the Constitution was written by people who thought slavery should be a thing. They were written by people who didn't live past the age of 70.
But I think that's less important than the fact that they made specific rules to make changes to the Constitution.
Yeah.
They included that in the Constitution, how to change it.
They did. But the problem is that the originalist theory is that there are rules to change the Constitution. If this were meant to be read a different way, it would have been changed by the legislature already. Therefore, we have to read it in its current text.
It's a stupid thing to think.
That's what Scalia advertised. Scalia is probably the most...
it's pure applesauce.
Yeah. Scalia is probably the best example of an originalist judge. To be fair, an asshole, but a complete genius. Scalia's mind was brilliant.
He was a smart man.
Yeah.
He just had views that I disagree with. Fundamentally.
And he was a massive hypocrite, especially during you remember, you were alive. We were both alive.
You were living
during Bush's election, the Florida recount ruling.
I was not alive. I was probably 3.
Yeah, I was also very young. Let me look up the details of the case. So in 2000, there was a minor electoral
case, kerfuffle,
a minor electoral constitutional crisis.
Yeah. You know how I'd be in the United States.
So, Bush versus Gore, 2000, was a decision of the United States Supreme Court that settled a recount dispute in Florida's 2000 presidential election. The ruling was issued on December 12th, 2000. Remember when the election happened?
November?
Mid-November.
Yeah.
There were 2 weeks. We didn't know who the fuck the president was.
It'd be like that.
Yeah. On December 9th, the court had preliminarily halted the Florida recount that was occurring. 8 days earlier, the court unanimously decided the closely related case of Bush versus Palm Beach County Canvassing Board. The Electoral College was scheduled to meet on December 18th, 2000 to decide the election. Yeah. So, in a per curiam decision, the court ruled that the use of different standards of counting in different counties violated the Equal Protection Clause and ruled that no alternative method could be established within the time limit set by Title III of the United States Code. The Equal Protection Clause is one of the most important parts of the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
Yeah. The vote regarding the Equal Protection Clause was 7-2, and regarding the lack of alternative method was 5-4. The Supreme Court decision allowed the previous vote certification to stand, as made by Florida Secretary of State Katherine Harris for George W. Bush, as the winner of Florida's 25 electoral votes. Florida's votes gave Bush, the Republican candidate, 271 electoral votes, one more than the required 270 to win. Essentially, Florida's count was in the margin. Florida's number of votes was within the margin for a recount. They were undergoing a recount. Scalia led the Supreme Court in ruling that they are not entitled to a recount, and the original count went in Bush's favor. Now,
purely political, as you can
purely
tell.
political.
Purely.
Scalia, up to this point, had constantly espoused the theory that the states should govern themselves as much as possible. Him doing this was a major act of hypocrisy. He was ruling against his own views in the past.
The president is not a state's issue, it's a federal issue. It's
Absolutely.
specifically underneath the purview of the Supreme Court.
That being said, it was inconsistent with what he had said in the past about what the states are allowed to do. And a state counting its own votes is its own business.
I don't think it is.
I mean, in a state like California or Texas, it doesn't really fucking matter. The margin of victory is going to be so big in one direction.
You'd be surprised.
But in a state like Florida, it's really close. Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, it's close every year.
The big caucuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just one example of a landmark Supreme Court case.
Yeah.
And how much of a fucking asshole Scalia was.
I mean, yeah.
I really don't like him. Scalia literally went on a fucking diatribe after the Obergefell v. Hodges ruling.
About the separation of church and state? Or
No, I'm gonna read...
forced prayer in school?
Yeah. No. So he had the dissenting opinion on Obergefell v. Hodges. Mm-hmm. So basically, after a ruling, there is the concurrent, or the opinion of the winning side, quote-unquote, and then the dissenting opinion of those who oppose the general ruling of the court.
Just for posterity?
Yeah.
Okay.
So those who, quote-unquote, lost write a dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
Scalia wrote the dissenting opinion of Obergefell v. Hodges.
Yeah.
So, dissenting opinion...
Obergefell v. Hodges.
Yeah.
Do you think you can give a quick recap of what that case was about?
Oh, Obergefell v. Hodges. We love. Obergefell v. Hodges was the ruling that legalized gay marriage federally.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes, you did.
I knew the court name, but I didn't think it was that one. I forgot which one.
So, Obergefell v. Hodges, the ruling legalized gay marriage federally. So
its specific ruling was it was unconstitutional to deny a marriage certificate or license based on the two people being married, specifically if they're the same sex.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It didn't legalize anything.
Yeah.
It just made it illegal to make it illegal. That's all it made. That's specifically what, and that difference is a distinction that needs to be there.
That being said, Scalia's dissent had very little to do with religion. It had very little to do with separation of church and state. I don't think he cited it once in his dissent.
Oh.
His ruling was, the substance of today's decree is not of immense personal importance to me. That's him saying outright, religion does not play a factor for me.
Okay.
I'm looking for there's a big quote here. It's so long. Dissenting opinions are really long.
That's kind of the point.
Yeah. Until the courts put a stop to it, public debate over same-sex marriage displayed American democracy at its best. Individuals on both sides of the issue passionately, but respectfully attempted to persuade their fellow citizens to accept their views. Americans considered the arguments and put the question to a vote. The electorates of 11 states, either directly or through representatives, chose to expand the traditional definition of marriage. Many more continued not to. 1. Win or lose, advocates for both sides continued pressing their cases, secure in the knowledge that an electoral loss can be negated by a later electoral win. This is exactly how our system of government is supposed to work.
Disagree.
Yeah.
because human rights should not be put up to a vote.
Exactly.
And even if, for instance, it was a state's issue, it's not. It's specifically the marriage of two people and the legal, like, representation of that. If I got married in California and I moved to Nevada, my marriage means nothing. If I get hurt in the hospital, Eric can help me.
Yeah.
That you can't get a civil union if you want to invite someone over to the country to move with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's such a stupid idea. Like, I get it's his cock cigarette. Sounds smart at first, and then you put any thought into it, and it's like, this is stupid.
What Scalia's saying?
Yeah, that's a cock cigarette.
Yeah, Scalia's argument. So I think that what he did and how he structured his dissent was the only way he could do it without coming across as a fucking homophobe. He had to make it appear like this is an overreach of the federal government.
It absolutely
arm, instead of, I just don't think gay people should get married.
I don't even think he thought that. I think he was very much a traditionalist of the Constitution. He didn't think the Constitution had the right to...
So you think he legitimately believed that...
It was a state's issue? Yeah, I think he absolutely believed that.
Okay.
I think he was wrong, but I think he believed that. I don't believe he was a homophobe.
Okay.
I believe he didn't care about gay people enough anyway. I think it was specifically about the overreach of the federal government. I don't think it was an overreach.
Yeah.
And may his soul rest in peace, but, like, girl, you were wrong.
Yeah.
And you're going to be put down as the man who voted against gay marriage.
One of two.
One of two.
Yeah.
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 Were you worried that it wasn't going to pass?
I wasn't, because I know that it had been legalized at the state level
in a lot of
times
states
already.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doubtful that it would go through. I just knew that a lot of the country was not going to like the ruling.
Well, I knew that, but I don't care what most people think.
Mm-hmm. So that's just one landmark case, and that's just one dissenting opinion. I love reading into the Supreme Court. This is, I'm such a fucking nerd. But
do you know about the Hobby Lobby case?
I'm familiar with it. I'd have to look up more details.
So Hobby Lobby, famous. Like if you live in California, you probably know Michaels.
Yes.
Or if you're rich, you probably know Dick Blick art stores. It's basically that. It's a hobby store that has like glue and paint and shit like that to make your art projects for school that you never cared about. They didn't want to pay for birth control as part of their medical plan.
Yes.
For their employees.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was ruled that they had to by the state. So they put out to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Hobby Lobby that for religious reasons, the companies do not have to provide certain healthcare plans to...
Okay. Do you use Oye? Oye is a website. They basically detail every single Supreme Court case ever.
Why would I use that?
They're a really, really good fucking website.
Great.
So, basically, it presents a case as a question, and then the ruling on that case as an answer to that question.
Are companies religious entities? No person would say no.
Question. Does the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993
RFRA
allow a for-profit company to deny its employees health coverage of contraception to which the employees would otherwise be entitled based on the religious objections of the company's owners?
No.
The court ruled yes.
The court was wrong.
The court held that Congress intended for the RFRA to be read as applying to corporations since they are composed of individuals who use them to achieve desired ends.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
It was that specific fucking thing was meant for Amish people. You know that the RFRA was originally introduced by Clinton?
Bill? I did not know that. Well, it's 93, so I'm not surprised.
It was specifically to help the Amish people.
Okay.
Because, the Amish are kind of they're their own little fringe group.
Yeah.
And he wanted to preserve their way of life, which I get. It was hard enough to put fucking stickers on the back of their wagons.
Yeah.
When they're going down highways. But, I don't know. If you're afraid of fucking zippers, I don't know how to help you.
Yeah. Well, it was a 5-4 ruling. It was close. Very closely debated.
It was so stupid. It's like fucking Citizens United.
Guess who wrote the dissenting opinion?
And Scalia? I don't know.
No. Dissenting opinion.
Ginsburg.
Yeah. Ginsburg did write her dissenting opinion.
This is stupid. Why are you like this?
Justice Ginsburg also wrote that the majority opinion misconstrued the RFRA as a bold legislative statement with sweeping consequences. Because for-profit corporations cannot be considered religious entities, the burden the respondents claim is not substantial, and the government has shown a sufficiently compelling interest. Justice Ginsburg argued that the contraception mandate does not violate the RFRA.
It shouldn't, because companies are not people, even if they are comprised of people.
Oh, but as a previous ruling says that corporations are people.
I know. Citizens United.
FEC versus Citizens United.
A horrible court case,
Yeah.
which can never be tried again.
Of course it can be tried again.
I mean, it probably won't be.
The beauty of the Supreme Court is that you can overturn previous decisions.
The issue is it won't be overturned.
Not for some time, at least.
Not for a while, because they've specifically allowed, it was made specifically to allow money into politics.
Yeah.
And as long as money is in politics, we will never be able to overturn that.
Yeah. So the previous, there was a previous case that happened, which ruled the opposite. It ruled that corporations are not people.
Yeah.
McConnell v. FEC. Okay. Now, the question...
Our favorite, McConnell.
Not Mitch McConnell.
One of his ilk.
Oh, God. Question. Did the Supreme Court's decision in McConnell resolve all constitutional as-applied challenges to the BCRA when it upheld the disclosure requirements of the statute as constitutional?
Yes, but the court ruled against that.
Conclusion. There were 4 questions asked, actually. The majority of them went in the favor of the Scalia side.
Citizens v.
Yeah.
Citizens United.
By a 5-4 vote along ideological lines, the majority held that under the First Amendment, corporate funding of independent political broadcasts and candidate elections cannot be limited. It affords the same right of donation to corporations as it does to private citizens.
No one sees a problem with that. How could anything be wrong with that?
There's a lot of things wrong with that.
Yeah, how could one single thing be wrong with that?
Again, a 5-4 decision.
Yeah. And Ginsburg wrote the dissent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why her moniker is the Great Dissenter. Because all of these shitty cases that have happened in the last 20, 25 years, she's been the prominent voice in saying, no, I don't believe this, and we should continue to fight for it and overturn it in the future.
Did you hear that one quote she made when she talked about how she beat cancer again?
No, I'm not familiar.
She said there was one gentleman who said that I would be dead within 20 years.
And then I outlived him?
And that man is no longer with us.
Yeah.
And here I am beating cancer again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ginsburg is fucking hardcore.
We love her. We love that tiny little woman.
Yeah, they made a movie about her.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's good, though.
The movie was about basically how she came into the...
political world.
Political landscape. The title of the movie was On the Basis of Sex, which is...
well, there's a bunch of movies about her now.
I know, but the one that came out recently, basically when she was a lawyer, she represented, I believe it was male... It was either nurse or housekeeper or some profession that at that time was a female-dominated profession.
Okay.
She represented a man who was denied access to that employment agency because he was not a woman. She represented him and said you cannot deny people employment on the basis of sex.
God, if only real feminists would do that.
That's what she... So basically, a lot of people considered it a very, very smart tactic. If you can't deny men employment on the basis of sex, you cannot also deny women employment on the basis of sex. That ruling extends to everybody.
Yeah. Because it's worded that way.
Yeah. So, what other landmark court cases are you familiar with? We've discussed Obergefell. We've discussed...
Hobby Lobby,
FEC, Bush v. Gore,
Roe
Roe v. Wade. That one, a lot of people describe Roe v. Wade as the right decision at the wrong time.
I don't know that.
So Roe v. Wade obviously
made it.
It legalizes abortion on the federal level, or rather, I think, like you said, it makes it illegal to illegalize abortion.
It makes it illegal to make abortions. What's the word? Inconvenient, inexpedient, and inaffordable.
Yeah, what's it called? You cannot place an undue burden on
yeah.
women. Yeah, for trying to seek an abortion.
Yeah.
You could place restrictions on it, which I think some are reasonable.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
Like third term.
Yeah, I fully don't believe that you should pursue.
Yeah, because
trimester.
Third trimester.
Yeah. That being said, Roe v. Wade happened
forever ago.
It didn't happen forever ago.
Not within living memory. Oh, no, it has.
Yeah.
Because did you hear about that? One of the women who were in the case has refound her Christian values and is now against abortion.
I've not heard of that.
Yeah,
So,
it's a very popular thing.
Roe v. Wade was not heard that long ago. Roe v. Wade was heard in 1972.
Yeah,
That's not that long ago. A lot of people say it happened at the wrong time. Now, it was a 7-2 ruling. It was very, very strong in the pro-choice side of the debate.
yeah.
But somehow, that ruling in 1971 probably is not representative of our current society's view of whether or not abortion should be easily accessible and legal for everybody.
Yeah, I mean...
7-2, what is that? 84%?
Something like that.
Yeah. Do you believe that 84% of the population is pro-choice?
I'd say a majority is pro-choice, but not in the sense that they like abortion.
Yeah.
Like, I think most people don't like abortion. Most smart people don't like abortion.
And when you discuss legality has nothing to do with whether or not you like
It's
something.
moral, yeah. It's specifically about whether or not they should be allowed to do something, and I think they absolutely should. It's their body, it's their choice.
So legality and morality, I like to keep them separate. Ethics involves both of them, but legality and morality are two different things.
Yeah.
So you can't... I hate to say this, but facts don't care about your feelings. When you discuss the legality of a situation, you have to discuss it as per what the law says.
Not only that, you're simplifying it too much, because things like...
Well, hang on, but this is why I don't like to bring morality into legality, because people will say it is immoral for a woman to try to pursue an abortion. I don't like to use that to influence the law.
Okay, but that can be
wrong.
turned around when you say, well, it's legal for companies to be treated as people.
Yes, it is. But I don't think it's right. But it is legal. It's not right.
But I think that decision has to be made together, because those things have far-reaching effects.
Okay.
You need to take morality into account, because you're making a decision on the basis of the morality of the general populace.
I'm not saying that you can't disagree with the law, but I'm saying that you can't use morality to argue a legal antithesis to that
Disagree. Law. Have you never been to a court?
I have been to a court, but think about it. How are you going to overturn FEC v. Citizens United? You can't do it by saying, I think it's wrong. You have to do it by giving legal preface to that.
No, you don't. What you have to do is make a case, and the case is purely emotional. Mostly, it's mostly you're appealing to the better devils of people. That's what most cases are. You make emotional appeals. Use words like, okay, how about Jodi Arias, for example?
Okay.
Have you seen the way she looks?
No, I have not.
During the court case, she was black hair, tied in a bun, dressed very nicely, glasses. You know how she don't look like normally?
How?
Blonde hair, loose, crusty like she never washed it, slutty clothes, bottle blonde. The reason they dressed her like that is because it made her look more sympathetic.
Okay.
It's purely emotional. There's some legal things you can look into, but it's a lot of court cases like this are specifically making an emotional plea.
And at the district level, I completely understand that, but Supreme Court hearings don't involve a jury.
But it does involve people, and a Supreme Court case is basically just a jury of 9 people.
I mean, it is, but you just saw a Scalia dissent. Scalia and most of the justices have tried to... They don't like to allow emotion and sympathy... What's the word for it? Sentiment to influence the legal ramifications of something.
They would say they don't like to, but I don't think that they can't, because they can't divorce themselves from that part of their human. It's hardwired into us.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much they think they're above it, they're not.
Okay.
There are small things we can do every day that influence people.
That's true. Where are we on time?
We're on an hour, but we're cutting a lot of it out.
We are, yeah. We had a lot of dead space because I was looking up shit.
Yeah. What other case do you want to talk about?
Lemon v. Kurtzman.
I don't know that one.
Okay, Lemon v. Kurtzman is a very interesting case.
Uh-oh.
It has to do with religion, and it's a separation of church and state case.
Okay, the Establishment Clause?
Yes, it plays off of that. Let me just look up, oh yay. OYE is the best website ever.
God.
Okay. So the question of OYE. Do statutes that provide state funding for non-public, non-secular schools violate the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment? Can you use federal dollars to fund private Catholic schools?
Yes, but only if you also fund private Muslim schools.
Weird flex, but I like that take.
The government cannot choose one or one religion or the other. They have to treat them all equally.
Okay. But it was an 8-1 ruling. Yes. The court held that a statute must pass a 3-pronged test in order to avoid violating the Establishment Clause. The statute must have a secular legislative purpose.
Okay.
Its principal or primary effect must be one that neither promotes nor inhibits religion.
Okay.
And it must not foster excessive government entanglement with religion, which is a completely arbitrary test.
Yeah.
But those 3 parameters are what we call the lemon test to this day.
Okay, so if, say, the federal government were funding, say, 3 schools, a Jewish temple school, a Muslim mosque school, and then a Catholic church school, funding all 3 of them would pass the second prong.
But it would fail the third, because it represents excessive tangling of government with religion.
Not if it was a grant. If it were a grant that the school applied for, that applied to all schools,
Yeah.
that they could apply for, it would not violate. As far as the secular one, you could make the argument it's just funding education.
It is funding education, but part of that education is religious education.
But if it's not specifically religious or it's being applied to everyone, it would not violate that one. So theoretically, if the government were funding 3 Catholic schools as well as their normal public schools, and they offered a grant, and schools that applied and were approved based on their merit on all 4, let's say public school, public secular school, Jewish, Muslim, and Catholic.
Yep.
If they all passed and were approved, and they were all funded using that grant, they would not violate the 3 prongs.
Okay.
Based on the wording of that law.
But it wasn't just like I get what you're saying, but it was so far in one direction. Like,
yeah, it was specifically Catholic schools, and that would violate the clause.
Yeah,
because it was specifically. That's why I mentioned that.
Well, it didn't say Catholic schools in the question.
I know.
The question was just non-public, non-secular schools. So private religious.
Sure, but I think that a lawyer could make the case for what I said.
Okay.
Even if it were public or if it were private and religious, you could, as long as it's being treated equally by the federal government, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, the only it was an 8-0 ruling. As you know, there are 9 people on the court. Yeah, Justice Thurgood Marshall did not participate in the discussion or decision of case number 89, which is what this was.
Yeah, Thurgood.
So, any other landmark cases you want to talk about?
I don't know a lot more.
This is really interesting. I could do this all day.
I don't know that many cases. Did you try to make a case about Nazi protesters when you were wrong and it supported my argument, not yours?
Okay, so we are familiar with clear and present danger, which is what we discussed earlier.
Okay.
Let me look up the case that established that.
It was some... There were neo-Nazis marching on Town Hall. They had a legal permit, and the police tried to interfere because they were creating a clear and present danger, allegedly. Okay, so the case... by the way, this case was held a very long time ago. Yeah, very long ago.
1919.
Yeah.
Shank v. U.S.
Yeah.
Okay? The question, did Shank's conviction under the Espionage Act for criticizing the draft violate his First Amendment right to freedom of speech?
No.
Okay. The court held that the Espionage Act did not violate the First Amendment and was an appropriate exercise of Congress's wartime authority.
Bullshit.
This was a... Wow. What was the line of the rule? Oh, it doesn't say. Okay. Unanimous. All 9 held that.
That's World War II. Doesn't surprise me.
World War I, 1919. So, writing for a unanimous court, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes concluded that courts owed greater deference to the government during wartime, even when constitutional rights were at stake.
Bullshit.
So this is during wartime.
Yeah.
We are currently not in wartime.
Mm-hmm.
At least not with Nazi Germany, which is the sort of hate speech.
Not during that time.
Okay.
You're talking about...
I'm talking about modern
the
day.
German Empire, specifically.
Okay.
Not Nazi Germany. They were Nazi Germany, yeah.
No, okay, that's... but the point I'm trying to make is that pretty much this held that you cannot... Well, the saying today is you can't shout fire in a public theater.
Yeah.
You cannot say things that endanger the public. That is...
With the intent to endanger the public.
Yes, that is a reasonable restriction on free speech.
I'd agree.
We both agree on that, and I don't think anybody in the...
I don't think most people would disagree.
That being
Maybe a libertarian.
said, hate speech is a matter that we disagree on. David...
Probably not. I think me and you would agree more on, but it depends on how you define it.
So, hate speech, according to Wikipedia, is just speech that dehumanizes or is meant to put down minority groups.
And that's not the legal definition.
Okay.
The legal definition is specifically speech that is meant to incite violence against a person or groups.
Okay. I don't think it has to be inciting violence.
It has to incite danger, specifically danger, not just mean words. Like, if you say, let's go kill this faggot, that would be hate speech.
So according to Wikipedia...
Wikipedia's not the law.
I know it's not, but it's the only it's the only one I have here. Hate speech is speech that attacks a person or group on the basis of protected attributes such as race, religion, ethnic origin, national origin, sex, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity.
Not the legal definition.
Okay.
But I also disagree with that definition because I don't think words can attack people.
Okay. So the point that I've tried to make is that hate speech is inherently dangerous.
I disagree.
Okay.
Well, it depends on what you mean by hate speech.
So Richard Spencer going out and being an asshole in public before getting punched in the face.
Do you know what he said before then?
No.
So before you got punched, that people miss a lot is that the interviewer said, "Do you like black people? Do you have a problem with black people?" He said, "Sure, I'm fine with black people."
Okay.
And then he got punched in the face.
Got it. So
I don't like defending Richard Spencer. I'm not. He's a monster. Not a monster. He's an idiot. He's a moron who's given too much power.
Okay. I believe that hate speech fuels public anger. I believe that hate speech makes society more inherently dangerous.
Well, I don't think I agree with your definition of hate speech. I would agree that hate speech, specifically words used to incite violence against a specific group, is dangerous to society because it ruins public cohesion. But I think saying things like, I don't like faggots in my schools or my country is not hate speech. It's an asshole being an asshole. You just have to let that go. Because that's still their freedom of speech. They're entitled to that.
What about people... I don't know if this is an ideal of Richard Spencer. What if you say, I want the United States to be a white ethno-state?
He does believe that.
Okay. Do you believe that is hate speech?
No.
Really?
Because he didn't say he wants to incite violence. He just wants the country... He wants all these brown people to go back to where they came from, which is stupid. His idea is dumb on its own. It doesn't need to be illegal to be debunked.
Okay.
Because an ethno-state doesn't work.
Oh, I'm not arguing that it's stupid. I agree with you that it's completely stupid. But I
don't think it's dangerous either.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that him convincing more people of his ideals can hurt people down the line. Not that it has... Well, it probably has, but...
You'd have to prove that.
It's hard to prove. You can't prove why somebody believes what they do and why those beliefs...
And yet you're willing to make a restriction on our First Amendment rights specifically for that, then you'd have to prove that. It's such a specific thing that you're arguing for, like hate speech specifically, like him saying stupid shit. When you would call that hate speech and condemn it legally, you restrict all our freedom of speech. Everyone. Because one day, how do you know that fighting for gay rights will fall out of fashion again? How do you not know that? They'll say that you're fighting for something that's dangerous. You're causing a social disruption. That's what China does. It's the limits of freedom of speech limit us all. And there are some limits I can live with, like shouting fire in a public place or yelling shooter at a school when there's nothing, or calling a false bomb threat. These are limits that I can live with and accept with because I have to live in a society that functions. It's it's not my ideal, obviously. But I don't think the ideal free speech can ever exist because there are people who would abuse it.
Yeah. That being said, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that the government can... And this is something I believe. The government can overextend itself to provide reasonable protections to people who require those protections.
I don't think that you need to be protected from Richard Spencer's ideas, because his ideas are stupid and you can debunk them easily. His ideas are not the mainstream. They never will be, because there are people like you and me who disagree with it and are vocal about disagreement. And that's how you battle bad ideas with good ideas.
But didn't you mention earlier how recently, especially since the election of Donald Trump, according to the FBI, there are more hate crimes in this country?
Yeah, but you're assuming that those hate crimes are done by Nazis to other people, when we don't know that for a fact.
People don't commit hate crimes just out of the blue. They have to be inspired or enabled to do so, and given...
You're assuming that there are only Nazi people committing hate crime, and that's not true. There could be people on the other side of the horseshoe that commit hate crimes, and there probably are.
Well, we'll split the difference and say some of those people are Nazis at the very least.
Okay, sure.
Those people have to have gotten their ideology from somewhere.
Okay, sure. But I don't think necessarily that came from Richard Spencer.
Not Richard Spencer, I'm not saying him specifically.
Or Milo.
But those like him, and those who continue to espouse things like, we require a white ethno-state and we need to eliminate or get rid of all of the other lesser people, quote-unquote, to make that happen.
Sure. I'll say, sure, there are probably people who are inspired by him who do bad things, but he is not responsible for those people.
I'm not saying it's his responsibility. He has not hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But...
I don't think his speech hurt anyone either. His speech did nothing. His speech only planted a seed in that idea, and whoever goes with that idea is their own issue.
I think it's an extra step, though.
I don't think so. I think you're completely conflating two different things.
Am I?
Because if you say, listen to ContraPoints, and she says, kill your children, your shitty children.
Kill your shitty child. Love
and
that.
you go and murder a bunch of children of neo-Nazis, is she responsible? Is her idea bad because you went something wrong with it?
Well, no, because...
Because what?
Her point is clearly for the sake of comedy, number one. Number two, she has never actively told her followers that we need to live in a state that exists like this.
She has. She said we have to live in a state that accepts all people, and I would agree.
Okay. Whereas neo-Nazis have went as far as saying...
we need to make a country a homeland state for white people.
Yes. And many of them have referred to themselves as conquerors of lesser people.
You'd have to...
Okay,
an example for
all
that.
I'm saying is that hate speech emboldens people to commit hateful acts sometimes.
I say hate speech, yes, but Richard Spencer is not committing hate speech.
Okay.
His speech is hateful, but it's not hate speech.
So, just see my line of thinking.
I've seen your line of thinking, I disagree with it. That's why I'm having this argument.
So,
I understand my opinion isn't very popular with gay people.
I understand.
Because it's
and
distasteful.
It's not just a gay thing. It's also like...
it's a left-leaning thing.
It's an Arab thing, too. It is a left-leaning thing, generally. But I think that if hate speech emboldens people to commit crimes, and those crimes hurt people directly, then we need to do something about it. Because we've already made acts of violence and acts of we've made hate crimes illegal for a very long time.
Yes.
But that clearly hasn't worked.
What do you mean it hasn't worked? Hate crimes are much lower now than they've ever been. They've had a recent rise compared to like last year or the year before, but they're lower than they were like years ago.
I think that we need to place more restrictions
I
on
don't.
something then.
No. Because when you place more restrictions like that, you end up with even more polarization, and you end up with more government control that the government doesn't need, because like we've already have huge not judicial what's the president's line of government? Executive overreach. And I want more judicial overreach now too, because the moment you limit freedom of speech because you find it distasteful is the moment that when that sword you're using can be turned right back on you. And it's not something I'm willing to take, because not that long ago it was illegal to, like, within living memory, it was illegal to be gay.
Yeah.
Sodomy laws existed, and they still do in like Baton Rouge. It's illegal to give someone a blowjob. Did you know that?
Yeah, I was gonna say sodomy laws don't make it illegal to be gay. They just make it illegal to have fun.
Agreed. But again, see, it wasn't that long ago that freedom of speech was like threatened because it was distasteful, and it's amazing that we have forgotten that, and that we have people who I would say are normally very smart. I touching Sal as I say this, who have argued for something so incredibly stupid
Oh my god.
and dangerous. I think that you limiting freedom of speech because you find it distasteful is more dangerous than Richard Spencer saying stupid shit.
I'm not for it because I find it distasteful. I'm for it because I find it outright dangerous.
I don't think it's outright dangerous. You have to prove it. You are assuming things that you haven't proven a clear line of connection. You assume that his speech is causing violence, or speech like his is causing violence, or inspiring violence in other people, but you'd have to prove those lines of connection, which you have not done.
Okay.
And that's the issue we're having.
I just need to find
not one.
I just need to find manifestos that say this is where I got.
Oh, there are tons of manifestos that have Ben Shapiro's name in it, but I think recently he said he'd walk up to stop gay acceptance being taught in schools with beta work. He said he'd fight for it with a gun, which is actual hate speech because that's a threat. He made a specific threat to a presidential candidate.
Yeah,
that's hate speech. That was a threat.
Okay. I'm gonna do research and then we'll have an appendix episode.
Maybe.
Okay.
We've had this conversation before.
So, where are we on time?
1:17.
All right. I think we have enough. This was a fun episode.
An ending note, just because you find something someone says distasteful or even you think it might be dangerous, doesn't necessarily mean it is, and when you limit their freedom of speech, you limit your own.
We'll put a bookmark on that. Okay. All right. Thank you all for listening. This was a good episode.
It was an episode.
It was a good episode.
It was an episode.
All right.